and a pyramid have the same base and the same height. The volume of the pyramid is 1/3 the volume of the prism. That's why when I filled the pyramid into the cube, there was 3 times that I could fill it because the formula is the same except for the 1/3. So somewhere, and it wasn't grade 9, you learned that volume of a cube was length times width times height. I'm thinking it's grade 8, but I don't know if anybody recalls what grade you learned that. So if you were to picture, volume is basically, if I find the base area of anything, and if you think about this, I'm basically just stacking this a certain height. Do you see? So any volume, as long as you have the base, just think of it as you're stacking it a certain height. So picture like, 100 of these. If I were to layer them all up here, you see I'd get a height of a cube. So any of the formulas is always the base area, which for instance in this cube is length times width, and then I'm stacking it a certain height. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so then the pyramid is just in relationship to that is 1/3 as much. So easy lesson here today. Volume is easier than surface area because it's just pretty straight. So notice that in the pyramid, I need to have the height at 90 degrees to the base. It's not the slant height. It's the actual height of the pyramid. So the base area is 7 times 3, and then the height is 4. So the volume is 1/3 that. Yes? So does everybody know how to type in 1/3 on their calculator? Yes, you can either use your alpha key, which some of you have discovered as alpha y equals, and then you can get the fraction, or the people that have the basic ones, you're just going 1 divided by 3 for your 1/3 times 7 times 3 times 4. And does anybody know what kind of units this would be? Yes, this is now going to be meters cubed. And why is it cubic now? It's 3 dimensions. Area is 2 dimensions. Volume is 3 dimensions. Okay, let's keep going. A cylinder. Okay, so do you want me to fill the cylinder? Yes? Okay. Yeah. With the cylinder, the base area is a circle, that's pi r squared. Then I stack it a certain height. That's where I'm getting the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. So the volume of a cone would be 1/3 of that. Okay? So same thing here. The base doesn't have to be, you can have the upside down cone. It's still the base of a circle, right? So base of a circle is pi 3 squared. Then I stack it a certain height, which is 6, right? And then because it's a cone, it's 1/3 that. Okay, so punch her in. What do you get? Remember, we're using the pi button. We're going to round to the nearest, it doesn't say here. We're going to do the nearest tenth maybe. So 56.5, and that would be centimeters cubed. Is that what everybody got? All right, moving on. Let's try this one. Finding the volume of a cone given its slant height. So sometimes they mix up the questions and do surface area and volume. You have to be very careful when you're doing this, because sometimes you use slant height and sometimes you use the actual height. For volume, we have to do the actual height. So what did we do yesterday in the surface area formula to figure out the slant height? We had to use what? Yeah, we had to use Pythagorean theorem first. So same thing goes here. We need to figure out the height. Remembering, if we do not get a nice number for our height, we leave it as a radical or we store it in our calculator, because we're not rounding until the final answer. So I am trying to, this is say my, I don't know, say my B, this is my A, and this is my C. So 7 squared plus h squared equals 17 squared, right? And you don't have to show all your little steps here. So h squared equals 240. So that is not going to square root nicely. So h is going to be the square root of 240. Yes? Okay, so I'm going to leave it as that. So now we're going to find our volume. Volume is equal to 1/3 pi, my radius squared, so 7 squared, times my height, which is 240, the square root of. Okay? So let's punch her in. So did you get 794.9, and that would be cubic inches. Yes? Okay, moving on. We're going to find the height of a pyramid. So sometimes they give you the volume, and you have to work backwards to find a certain dimension. So remember, my volume of a pyramid is, what is it again? It's 1/3 the base area, which you could say it's length times width times the height, right? Yes? So they're saying that the volume is 1,250. I know the length is 15, and I know the width is 10, but I don't know the height. Do you see, everybody? I'm trying to solve for the height. Okay. So essentially, I need to take whatever this is and divide it by that. If you don't, like, you should be able to, because you have a smart enough calculator, just go this divided by this whole thing, right? So 1250 divided by bracket, it's the whole thing, right? You need to have brackets around. So 1/3 times 15 times 10. So you should get 25 feet.